for that than the Tories.
And they're in the check shirt.
Massive issues with integration, Mr. Yusuf. That's such a generalisation and such a polarised thing to say. The British public deserve better than that, to be honest. The vast majority of people in this country live very happily and very peacefully together. The Tories have done a terrible job. One other thing that Mr. Jenrick said was that Handsworth is a slum. It's a slum possibly due to 14 years of terrible Tory rule in this country. But Mr. Yusuf, tonight you will say everything is about immigration. I challenge you not to mention the word immigration tonight. Because not everything in this country is the problem of immigration. There are problems in this country, but it's not just immigration.
Yeah, well, listen, I'll respond to that directly. I'm afraid I'm going to mention immigration because it is, according to the latest YouGov poll, the number one issue for ordinary British people, for voters across this great country. Of course, it's not the only issue. I couldn't agree with that more. And as someone, by the way, is a second-generation immigrant, whose parents came to this country in the early 1980s, and I'd like to think have contributed. They're given half a century of service between them to the NHS, still practice in their 70s at the NHS. And before people accuse me of not retiring them, all the money in my pockets could not stop them from giving care, because that's who they are. I am proud of what my parents have contributed to this country. I know how much immigrants have contributed, but it is absolutely true that there has been far too much mass immigration in this country. It has been to the detriment of this country. We've had enormous numbers. The Tories are most culpable for that, but I'm afraid the Labour government are frankly pouring gasoline on that problem.
Zia, do you ever think it's the number one problem because you spend a lot of time spreading misinformation and fear? So
with respect, you just accused me of spreading misinformation. Please tell me, and the people watching at home, what is it that I just said?
Because you've said the first bit, which is correct, that we don't have enough prison spaces, that we don't have enough NHS beds, and that we don't have investment in our communities. What immigrant has taken away those resources, as opposed to those resources being funded? So you can't blame austerity on one hand, but then say it's the immigrants. The immigrants haven't caused austerity. The same Thatcherite policies that you and your party support, and the Conservatives, of what have caused the devastation in this country. And you should take responsibility for that too.
Do you think that 6.5 million net new people arriving inside 14 years, 11 million gross new people arriving in this country, against the wishes of the British people, by the way, who voted against such things in 4 consecutive elections? You tell me, you don't think that's going to put pressure on public service?
Well, first of all, we were told Brexit would bring down immigration. Actually, what it's done is brought up immigration.
And you can blame the Tories for that.
So there was a mess that Nigel Farage started with that when he gave misinformation.
I don't believe Nigel Farage was in government for those 14 years.
Oh yeah, I think he was pretty around though and on question time quite.
He was not in government, I'm afraid.
Okay.
All right, tell you what, should we hear a bit more from our audience?